The Scalpel and the Silence. The Hidden Architecture of Medical Apartheid by Rue. Listen carefully because this is not conspiracy. This is documentation. The Chronicle of Medical Apartheid is the record of how a nation built its scientific prestige on the bodies of those it declared disposable. From the earliest days of colonial America, enslaved Africans were treated not as patients, but as raw material for experimentation. Property that could be cut, injected, infected, and observed without consent. Physicians refined surgical techniques on enslaved people who could not refuse, could not sue, could not testify. Bodies became laboratories. Pain became data. In the 19th century, Dr. J. Marion Sims, often called the father of modern gynecology, perfected surgical repairs for vesico-vaginal fistula by operating repeatedly on enslaved black women such as Anarcha, Lucy, and Betsy, performing dozens of procedures without anesthesia, despite anesthesia being available at the time. He argued that black women felt less pain, a belief rooted not in evidence, but in racial mythology. Their suffering advanced his career, earned him honors, statues, and institutional prestige. But Sims was not alone, nor was he the beginning. Southern physicians routinely tested experimental treatments on enslaved populations, including attempts to cure diseases like tetanus. Historical accounts describe Sims attempting to treat neonatal tetanus, also known as trismus nascentium, by inserting a shoemaker's awl into the skulls of black infants to relieve presumed cranial pressure. The procedures did not save the children, and the mortality rate for neonatal tetanus in that era was already devastatingly high, meaning these invasive attempts offered no proven benefit and ended in death. Whether framed as misguided theory or reckless experimentation, the pattern remains. Black bodies were subjected to high-risk interventions without consent, with catastrophic outcomes. This pattern continued after slavery. In the 20th century, black men in Alabama were enrolled in the Tuskegee syphilis study and deliberately left untreated so researchers could observe disease progression. Black patients were disproportionately exposed to radiation experiments, non-consensual sterilizations, and surgical trials in segregated hospitals. The justification shifted from slavery to science, from property to public health, but the power imbalance did not. Medical apartheid was not simply about individual cruelty. It was systemic. It was the convergence of racism, economic exploitation, and institutional authority. The belief that black bodies were biologically different, stronger, less sensitive, more resilient, became a convenient lie that excused neglect and experimentation. These myths still echo today in disparities in pain management, maternal mortality, and access to care. The Chronicle forces an uncomfortable truth. Progress in American medicine was often purchased with unconsented suffering. That does not erase every advance, but it demands we name the cost. To study this history is not to reject medicine. It is to demand ethical clarity. It is to understand why mistrust exists. It is to recognize that science without consent becomes exploitation, and authority without accountability becomes abuse. The lesson is not hatred, it is vigilance, because when any population is labeled expendable, experimentation follows, and when suffering is rationalized as necessary for advancement, humanity is quietly negotiated away. Ashe.